He was supposed to be a stepdad, but instead he was glued to his phone. Everyone felt abandoned, until one moment forced him to realize what he was losing. Would you forgive him? I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to look a child in the eyes and tell them words that could break their heart. But last week, it happened. I told my girlfriend's kids, "I'm not your dad." And the second those words left my mouth, I felt the air in the room change. Their little faces froze, eyes wide, as if the ground had been ripped out from under them. One of them even whispered, "But you've always been here." I'm 29, and my girlfriend is 35. We've been together for 4 years. From the very beginning, her 2 kids, an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl, became part of my daily life. I went from being mom's boyfriend to the guy who cooked them breakfast, helped with homework, went to school events, even tucked them into bed sometimes when she was working late. For years, they've called me dad, even though I never asked them to. And here's the catch. I never corrected them. I thought maybe it was harmless. Maybe it was even sweet. But now, after all this time, it feels like a lie that's been snowballing. One I let grow until it became a storm I couldn't escape. The truth? I'm not their father. Their biological dad is still alive, though barely present. He pops in once every few months, breaks promises, leaves the kids confused and hurt. Every time he disappoints them, I'm the one who picks up the pieces. And now, I'm caught in the middle of a storm I never signed up for, because when I finally drew the line and told them the truth, it shattered something I can't take back. The silence after I said those words, "I'm not your dad," was the kind of silence that doesn't just fill a room. It sinks into your bones. My girlfriend, Emma, froze too. She didn't yell. She didn't defend me. She just stared like she couldn't believe I'd finally said it out loud. But here's the thing. I didn't blurt it out in anger. It wasn't some impulsive outburst. It had been building for months, years. Even everywhere we went, people would smile at us, call us a perfect little family. Teachers at school would introduce me as the kid's dad. Neighbors, friends, even strangers would say things like, "They look just like you." And every time, I'd just force a smile and swallow the truth that at first, I thought I was protecting the kids. I didn't want to confuse them. I didn't want to embarrass Emma, and honestly, I didn't want to look like the bad guy. But with each passing year, the weight of that unspoken lie grew heavier. The breaking point came last weekend. We were at a family gathering with Emma's relatives, and her aunt asked me casually, "So, how does it feel raising your kids so young?" She didn't say her kids. She said, "Your kids." And the way everyone nodded, smiling like it was obvious. Something inside me snapped. That night, when we got home, the kids were playing in the living room. And before I could stop myself, I knelt down, looked at them, and told them the truth I had been avoiding for years. I'm not your dad. And now I can't stop wondering, was I cruel for finally saying it? Or was I cruel for letting them believe the lie for so long? The moment the words left my mouth, I knew there was no way to take them back. The kids froze. My girlfriend's daughter, she's 9, just stared at me, her big brown eyes wide with confusion. Her little brother, only 6, tilted his head like he was trying to process what I'd just said. At first, it was dead silence. You could hear the cartoon still playing on the TV in the background. Then, the little boy frowned and asked, "What do you mean you're not our dad? You live here. You tuck us in at night. You come to my soccer games." His voice cracked like he was on the edge of tears, and my heart dropped into my stomach. Emma rushed over, grabbing my arm like she wanted me to stop talking, but it was too late. The truth was out. I had opened the door, and there was no shutting it now. I tried to explain, gently. I told them that I loved them, that I cared about them, but biologically, I wasn't their father. I said it in the softest tone I could, trying not to sound cold. But how do you tell 2 innocent kids that the man they've looked up to for years isn't who they thought he was? The little girl's lips trembled. She whispered, "But you are our dad. You're the only dad we know." And that broke me. I could feel Emma's anger boiling next to me. But all I could think about was how much I had just hurt those kids. Kids who had never asked to be part of this complicated mess. The daughter ran to her room, slamming the door, and I heard her muffled sobbing through the wall. The little boy curled up on the couch, burying his face in a pillow. And there I stood, like the villain in my own home, wondering if I had just destroyed the only family I'd ever known. Emma finally snapped. She grabbed my arm and dragged me into the kitchen, her voice low but sharp. "What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you tell them like that? Do you realize what you've done? And in that moment, I honestly didn't know if I had done the right thing or the most selfish thing of my life. Emma's face was red with fury, and for the first time since we'd been together, I could see pure rage in her eyes. She pressed her palms against the counter as if she needed something solid to hold on to so she wouldn't explode right there in front of me. Her voice was low at first, but each word dripped with venom. Do you have any idea what you've just done? You've shattered them. They were fine. They were happy. And now, you've ripped the ground out from under them. I tried to defend myself, my voice shaking. Emma, they had to know. I couldn't keep lying to them forever. They deserve the truth, even if it hurts. But she wasn't hearing it. She took a step closer, her eyes narrowing. The truth? You think dumping this on them in the middle of a casual evening is the truth? That wasn't honesty, that was cruelty. You blindsided them. You blindsided me. Her words cut deeper than she probably realized. But the worst part? She wasn't entirely wrong. I replayed the scene in my head. Their faces, their tears. The way the little girl had whispered, "But you're the only dad we know." I couldn't escape the crushing weight of guilt pressing down on me. Emma's voice finally cracked. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was hurt. Do you know what it's like to raise kids alone? To finally find someone who they trust, who they love, who they believe will stay. And now you've made them question everything. You've made me question everything. I felt cornered, trapped between the weight of my own guilt and the sting of her accusations. I reached out, trying to take her hand, but she pulled away like my touch burned her. Emma, I whispered, I didn't mean to hurt them. I love them. I love you. But if I'm not their real dad, isn't it worse to keep pretending? What happens when they're older and find out from someone else? Wouldn't that destroy them even more? Her eyes filled with tears. She shook her head, whispering so softly it almost broke me. You don't get it. To them, you are their dad. And tonight, you told them they don't have one. The silence that followed was suffocating. I could still hear her daughter crying behind her bedroom door, and the sound cut through me like glass. Emma wiped her cheeks roughly, turned away, and muttered, I don't even know if I can forgive you for this. At that moment, I realized this wasn't just about the kids anymore. This was about us. And for the first time, I wasn't sure our relationship, our so-called family, could survive what I had just done. The next morning, the house felt different, heavier, quieter, the kind of silence that wasn't peaceful but suffocating. Usually, Emma's kids would run into the kitchen, still in their pajamas, bickering about cereal or fighting over who got to pick the morning cartoon. But that day, nothing. I sat at the table with a cup of coffee I hadn't even touched. My stomach was twisted in knots, and the bitter smell of the coffee made me nauseous. Every creak of the floorboards above sent my heart racing. Were they finally coming down? What would they say? Would they even look at me? Emma came down first. Her eyes were swollen, proof she hadn't slept much. She didn't say good morning. She didn't kiss my cheek like she usually did. She just walked past me, poured herself some tea, and leaned against the counter with her arms crossed. It was like standing in the middle of a battlefield where the war hadn't started yet, but you could feel the bombs about to drop. Finally, the kids came downstairs. The little one clutched her blanket, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. She wouldn't even glance at me. The older one, she tried to act normal, asking Emma about breakfast, but I could hear the crack in her voice. It was shaky, like she was forcing herself to hold it together. I cleared my throat, my voice trembling. Hey guys, did you sleep okay? Silence. They both ignored me. Emma kept her eyes on her tea. I tried again, this time softer. I know last night was hard, and I know I said some things that hurt, but I need you to understand, I wasn't trying to push you away. That's when the older one finally snapped. She slammed her spoon down on the table, her eyes blazing with tears. Then why did you say it? Why would you say you're not our dad if you don't want to leave us? Do you know how stupid that sounds? Her voice cracked on the word dad, and it shattered something inside me. I wanted to rush over, hug her, tell her everything would be okay. But I didn't even know if that was true anymore. Emma's lips tightened. She didn't defend me. She didn't defend them either. She just let the storm unfold, her silence louder than any words she could have spoken. I finally whispered, because I thought telling the truth was the right thing. But maybe I don't even know what the right thing is anymore. The little one finally looked up at me, her lip trembling. She whispered so quietly I almost didn't catch it. I just want my daddy back. And just like that, I broke. I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. My chest ached with the weight of everything I had ruined in one night. Emma turned her face away, maybe to hide her own tears, maybe because she couldn't stand to see me like that. That breakfast was the longest, most painful meal I had ever sat through. And deep down, I knew things would never go back to the way they were. Later that day, after the kids had gone upstairs to their rooms, the silence between Emma and me became unbearable. I followed her into the living room where she sat curled up on the couch, staring blankly at the TV that wasn't even turned on. For a long time, I didn't say anything. I just stood there, shifting my weight from one foot to the other, trying to gather the courage to speak. Finally, I sat down on the edge of the coffee table across from her. Emma, my voice cracked. I need to explain. Not excuse myself, but explain. She turned her eyes toward me, tired, heavy, but sharp enough to cut me in half. You've said enough already. I shook my head. No, I've said the wrong things. Last night, I thought I was being honest, but what I really was doing was protecting myself. I was scared. Her eyebrows furrowed, anger flashing for a second. Scared of what? Loving them? Because they already love you. Do you have any idea what you did to them last night? Her words hit harder than any punch. I leaned forward, clutching my hands together. I know. And that's the thing. I was terrified of failing them. Terrified that one day I wouldn't be enough. That I'd never live up to the title of dad. So instead of risking disappointing them in the future, I tried to draw a line now. Emma shook her head in disbelief, tears forming again. So your solution was to break their hearts first? To crush them before they ever had the chance to be disappointed? Her voice rose, filled with hurt, but beneath the anger, I could hear the pain of a mother who had just watched her children's trust shatter in real time. That I swallowed hard, my own tears blurring my vision. I was wrong. So wrong. I thought I was protecting them, but all I did was destroy the safety they felt with me. And I don't know how to fix it. But Emma, I want to fix it. Please believe me when I say, I want to make this right. For a moment, she didn't say anything. She just stared at me, as if weighing my words against all the damage I had caused. Finally, she whispered, you don't get to decide when you're a dad and when you're not. That's not a switch you can flip on and off. You stepped into this role the moment you moved into their lives. And whether you like it or not, they see you as family. You don't get to run from that just because you're scared. Her words cut deep, but they also forced me to confront the truth I had been avoiding. She was right. I had chosen to be in their lives. I had promised to be there, even if I hadn't said the words out loud. And now I had to live with the consequences of breaking that unspoken promise. That I reached out, tentatively placing my hand over hers. Then please, tell me how to fix this. Tell me what I can do, because I can't stand the thought of them looking at me the way they did this morning. Emma pulled her hand away, not in anger, but in hesitation. She stood up slowly, wiping her cheeks. That's not something you can fix with words. It's something you'll have to prove, day by day. And with that, she walked upstairs, leaving me sitting alone in the living room, staring at the empty space where she had been. For the first time in years, I felt truly powerless. The next morning, I woke up early, earlier than I had in months. My body felt heavy from a night of tossing and turning, haunted by the look in the kids' eyes. That mix of betrayal and disappointment that pierced deeper than anything I'd ever experienced. Emma was already up, moving quietly in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. The smell of pancakes filled the air, usually a cheerful sign of family mornings. But today it felt like a silent attempt to hold everything together. When I walked in, both kids were sitting at the table. Normally, they'd greet me with sleepy smiles or random stories about dreams they had. This morning, nothing, not even a glance. They stared at their plates, forks scraping against pancakes without a word. That I tried to break the ice. Morning, guys. Sleep okay? No answer. Just the sound of syrup being poured. My chest tightened. I sat down across from them, feeling like an intruder in my own home. That I forced a smile, hoping humor could bridge the gap. Wow, tough crowd today. Did I miss the memo about silent breakfast? The younger one, usually the first to laugh at my bad jokes, kept his head down, shoulders stiff. The older one finally looked up, but his eyes were cold. You said you didn't want to be our dad. The words hung in the air like a hammer blow. I felt my throat close, but I forced myself not to look away. I know. And I'm so sorry for saying that. I was wrong. I was scared, and I let my fear hurt you. That's not okay. The older one shook his head, pushing his plate away. You can't just take it back. You said it. You meant it. His voice cracked, and that broke me more than his words. I wanted to reach across the table, to hug him, to tell him I'd never leave, but I knew I had lost that privilege. Not yet. Emma's eyes flicked toward me, a silent reminder. Don't push. Don't make promises you can't keep in one sentence. Show them the S.O. I nodded slowly. You're right. I can't take back what I said, but I can try, every single day, to show you that I do want to be here, that I want to be part of this family, if you'll let me. They didn't respond. The younger one stood up and walked away, dragging his feet across the floor, disappearing into the living room. The older one followed, leaving me alone at the table with Emma. She didn't say anything at first, just kept tidying the kitchen. Finally, she whispered, "This is what I meant. It's not about words anymore. You broke something, and now you have to decide if you're willing to do the work to fix it. No shortcuts." I sat there, staring at the half-eaten pancakes, realizing just how deep of a hole I had dug for myself. And yet, somewhere inside me, a fire sparked. For the first time, I didn't want to run from responsibility. I wanted to fight for it. That day at work, I couldn't concentrate. Every email, every phone call, every routine task felt meaningless compared to the silence I'd left behind at the breakfast table. My mind kept replaying the older one's words. You said you didn't want to be our dad. I realized something important. Apologies weren't enough. Words had become empty currency in that house. If I wanted to repair what I had broken, I had to act.so after work. Instead of heading straight home, I stopped by a bookstore. I remembered that the younger one had been obsessed with dinosaurs lately. He could rattle off names I couldn't even pronounce. And the older one had been trying to learn guitar, always frustrated when he couldn't figure out a chord. That I walked out with 2 bags, one carrying a beautifully illustrated dinosaur encyclopedia and the other a beginner's guitar guidebook, complete with chord charts and exercises. They weren't grand gestures, just something that showed I had been paying attention, that I cared. When I walked into the house, the boys were in the living room, the TV buzzing with some cartoon. They barely looked at me. My heart pounded as I set the bags down on the coffee table. Hey guys, I got you something. The younger one glanced over, suspicious but curious. The older one didn't move. I pulled out the dinosaur book and slid it toward the little one. His eyes widened as he saw the cover. He hesitated, then carefully opened it. Within seconds, he was flipping through the pages, muttering names like Spinosaurus under his breath. The older one finally turned his head when I placed the guitar book in front of him. He picked it up slowly, his eyes scanning the pages. I braced myself for rejection, but instead he whispered, almost too quietly to hear, "Thanks." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a hug or a smile, but it was a crack in the wall I had built between us. Emma had been watching from the kitchen doorway. She didn't say a word, but the look in her eyes told me she noticed. It wasn't approval, not yet, more like a cautious acknowledgement. Okay, maybe he's trying. That night, as I lay in bed next to Emma, I whispered, I know it's going to take time, but I'm not going anywhere. I'll keep trying, no matter how long it takes. She turned toward me, searching my face for signs of hesitation. For once, I didn't flinch. I meant every word. And for the first time in days, I saw something in her eyes that gave me hope, the tiniest flicker of belief. The following weekend, I decided it was time to prove that my promises weren't just talk. No excuses, no distractions, no phone in my hand. Just me, Emma, and the boys. Saturday morning, I woke up earlier than everyone else. Normally, I'd have rolled over, checked my messages, and wasted an hour scrolling. But that day, I made breakfast instead. Pancakes, bacon, eggs, the whole thing. The kitchen smelled like a diner by the time Emma shuffled in, rubbing her eyes. She froze when she saw me at the stove, flipping pancakes like I actually knew what I was doing. What's all this? She asked, half skeptical, half amused. Family breakfast, I said simply. The boys came down next. The younger one's face lit up at the stack of pancakes, while the older one just gave me a cautious look, like he was waiting for the catch. But when I handed him the syrup and said, "First pour's yours," he didn't argue. After breakfast, instead of retreating into my usual routine, I surprised them. "So, what do you guys want to do today?" "No plans. Your choice." At first, they didn't answer. They weren't used to me asking. But eventually, the younger one piped up, "Dino Museum?" The older one groaned, but I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. Fine, as long as we don't stay there all day. And so, for the first time in what felt like forever, we piled into the car, not because Emma had planned something, not because I felt obligated, but because I genuinely wanted to at the museum. I watched the younger one dart from exhibit to exhibit, practically vibrating with excitement as he pointed out skeletons and corrected me when I mispronounced names. I laughed at myself, letting him be the expert. Meanwhile, the older one wandered toward an exhibit on ancient tools and instruments. I joined him quietly, resisting the urge to fill the silence with awkward words. Instead, I just stood there, listening as he muttered, "This is kinda cool." It wasn't much, but it was a start. On the drive home, something unexpected happened. The younger one, exhausted from excitement, fell asleep in the back seat, his head resting against the window. The older one glanced at me from the passenger seat and said, almost grudgingly, "You did okay today." It was the closest thing to approval I'd heard from him in months. When we got home, Emma gave me a small, tired smile. "They needed this," she whispered when the boys had run upstairs. Then, after a pause, she added, "So did I." That night, as I sat on the couch, guitar book open, the older one joined me. He didn't say anything, just picked up his guitar and started strumming quietly. And for the first time, it felt like maybe, just maybe, I was beginning to earn back what I had nearly destroyed. It's been a few weeks since that day at the museum. And I won't lie, things still aren't perfect. They probably never will be. But something is different now. That I don't expect Emma or the boys to suddenly forget all the times I wasn't there, all the moments I let them down. That's not how trust works. Trust isn't built overnight. It's built in small choices, day after day, when you prove with actions what your words can't fix alone. Now, I leave my phone on the counter when we sit down for dinner. Sometimes the urge to pick it up still creeps in, but then I see the boys laughing, Emma rolling her eyes at one of their jokes. And I remind myself, this is what matters. On Emma's birthday, instead of the usual last-minute flowers and dinner out, I actually planned something weeks ahead. A picnic by the lake, where the boys could run wild and she could relax for once. She told me it was the first time in years she felt like she didn't have to carry the weight of keeping us together. The older boy is still cautious. He doesn't just hand out his trust like candy, and maybe that's a good thing. But now, when I sit down with my guitar, he doesn't leave the room anymore. He even taught me a riff last week, and when I messed it up, he laughed. Not cruelly, but like maybe he was finally letting me in. The younger one? He's easier to win over. The other night he climbed onto the couch, curled against me, and asked, "You're staying this time, right?" I swallowed hard, hugged him tighter, and said, "Yeah, buddy. I'm not going anywhere." And Emma, she still has that guarded look sometimes. But every now and then, when she catches me goofing around with the boys or just being present, I see it fade. It's replaced with something softer. Hope.so, am I the bad guy? Maybe I was. Maybe for a long time, I failed them in ways I didn't even realize. But now I'm learning. Slowly, clumsily, but honestly. Because at the end of the day, it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up. Choosing them. Choosing us. And I know this much. I'm not going to lose them again. Not if I can help it. Thank you for watching this story on True Tales Hub. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next story. That we post new tales twice a day, and each one comes with unexpected twists you won't see coming.